After I graduated, my current boss, Dr. Jo Rose, it was my graduation ceremony, and she sat me down. She said, Claudia, have you thought about a PhD? You know, some people do it at the end of their careers, and sometimes people do that right at the beginning of their careers. And Johnny, those things that you grow up with, that I never in a million years thought that I would be able to have the capacity to, or like me, a PhD was kind of that sort of like, really? And she said, yeah, I really think you should look at that. And those words kind of, you know, started something. And I went home and I spoke to my mum, and my mum said, you know what, let's just, you know, she was also a massive sort of help, because my mum was like, let's do it, and I'm going to help you, and don't worry, and I've got your back. And then I started navigating this absolutely new world. You know, my grandmother learned to read and write peering through a primary school window. I don't come from that background. I don't come from, you know, extremely educated parents in the formal sense. You know, I come from more of a struggling background. And so it was really kind of exploring a completely different sort of network. And also you feel like, oh, am I good enough? Really is, you know, am I kind of pushing myself too far? But no, it was the best thing I could have done. And with my experiences, with my lived experiences, that is exactly what I bring into my research. And that's what makes me, I'd like to think, particularly effective, because I work with communities, but I also understand, and not that I'm going through that now, but I understand a certain context that they've gone through. And I think that allows me to have a different perspective. And for me, like if you see a lot of my writing, I focus a lot of my writing on sort of concepts or non-Western concepts of compassion. And if we go onto the humanitarian side of things, what we have, like what we have within our health system, like what we have within our education system, is a very elaborate, very sophisticated system where we give aid to the vulnerable. And we never learn from those vulnerable people. We never see them as first responders. Like we never see my grandmother, you know, as a very empowered, capable, intelligent and educated woman. But no, it's much easier to call them vulnerable and then be able to sort of impose a particular form of aid or program to be able to build the capacity of these people, rather than looking at ourselves and saying, you know, these systems haven't really brought much peace, hasn't really brought, you know, if we look at our education system, we're not seeing, and let's talk about the West, you know, we're not seeing extremely happy students coming out of this education system. We're seeing sort of levels of depression, mental health issues rising. So perhaps the issue is within the educated rather than the uneducated.